I've been warned of your presence. It's believed you're from Earth, from our dimension. How'd you get here, and why?
You don't know who I am, but I know who you are, Mario. My name is Franklin George Wilkins III, a former member of the Shadow Brigade and now a member of the Order of Light.
I don't believe you. Why wouldn't the Queen even know who you are? She said your presence makes no sense, almost like you don't even really exist.
Of course I exist. I'm just from an aborted timeline that became a new dimension. Don't trust me? Contact with your friends. I was the first to guide them and we stopped Obsidian's Abyssus together.
I don't understand.
That makes two of us. You see, me and my team were celebrating our victory, and when the Elder's blood powered the Green Bowl, we believed the Elders vanquished the Shadows and made everything right. Instead, the Elders told us of the real plan, to imprison Obsidian's Abyssus in your realm with the League members and their Green Bowl as a failsafe. They also mentioned you. Since our dimension was now a new one, the Elders enlightened us with knowledge, and we were tasked with guarding our new world and rebuilding it with the balance of the Order of Light in mind. I, of course, was the one tasked with investigating strange anomalies that suddenly started happening, portals and time distortions popping up in different areas. I got a little too close and was pulled through. Actually ended up on Earth in what you might consider Scotland, but it was about 4,000 years in your past, about 2000 BCE. I was cut off from my team in a time with no technology. Not the first time this happened, by the way. It was a few months before I could integrate with the locals as a magic man with my knowledge of science, but I also became the investigator in a series of strange, gruesome murders. It was then that I discovered more portal activity. I witnessed what was happening. Dimensions were colliding in the same space and oscillating back and forth. The rift that is supposed to keep these places separate was weakened. I began to travel through the portals, hoping I could get back to my team, but something was wrong. I kept ending up in different time zones on Earth. Each time, more mysterious murders would take place, and I would find the next portal. I also followed you and your friends. I know they were taken away by something because they disappeared. I found the place you were taken from and realized Obsidian's Abyssus was back, and then the portals became even worse. It took about 4 years of my life before I finally hit the right one, because now I'm in a strange place, and here you are. This must be the source.
As far as I can tell, Obsidian's Abyssus crashed into this dimension, corrupted it, and the Aishi, which are also part of the Order of Light, were split. And those created by the Shadows are now collecting dark relics with the power to raise an ancient creature known as Cirein-Cròin, a three-headed beast. They will then use the portals to destroy all life and spread chaos everywhere until Obsidian's Abyssus is left to reign over the remnants of all.
Up to their old tricks, I see. I believe it is worse than that, Mario.
What do you mean? How can it be worse than that? The Queen of the Aishi, she also told me something that didn't make sense. I don't get it.
If all the dimensions are colliding, then that means the void is opening up. The void is a place between dimensions where many great old gods and demons live. Creatures that would break your sanity and devour all. This Cirein-Cròin you speak of could just be one of many dangers. But Obsidian's Abyssus is pure chaos. It's hard to trust such a linear plan. And when I was on Earth, there was another problem. I also found young versions of my team, including myself.
Yes. If what you say is true, there would be different versions of you and your team with different possibilities. But why does that matter now?
Because me and my team were actually well into your future in my timeline. This tells me everything is already corrupted, and if that's true, then the void will not be contained for long.
The void? Perhaps. Obsidian's Abyssus is preparing for war, while the Shadow's mark is here as far as I can tell. Obsidian's Abyssus isn't. So if the dimensions all collide and it begins to bleed into each other, anomalies are going to exist everywhere, and Earth will be ground zero if the portals are all opening up there. We have to do something. If what you say is true, then all the existences has come into question. Perhaps you don't exist in the mind of the Queen because your reality is crumbling.
But since I cannot reach my team, we cannot confirm what is happening there. We're on our own. What did this Queen tell you? What do we do next, Mario?
We must find the place where these creatures known as the Unseelie are taking the relics. And I must contact our friends. We must prepare for battle. And the Green Bowl must be protected.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Ball, Òrdugh Truaillidh. What a week! Upsets continue in our league as some squads survive another week to keep playoff hopes alive. We have a new number one overall team as no squad has kept this top spot for more than 4 weeks so far. We had a very exciting game, which could be a playoff preview, come down to a lost fumble. We had two teams in the middle of the standings put up another good point showing in consecutive weeks. And we now have just one odd divisional slate of games remaining in the regular season with two divisions super tight and another one that could get even tighter depending on what happens this next week. But how did we get here? Let's start with last week's when the Stellar Bitches travel to take on the Clash at Demonhead in a massive contest for playoff position at the waters of Cirein-Cròin. This one was expected to be close based on projections, but it quickly turned into a blowout in the afternoon as the Stellar Bitches crushed the Clash at Demonhead, 120.08 to 77.48. Keenan Allen was a maniac, though he did leave with a shoulder injury. He finished with 175 yards and 2 scores to lead the Bitches. Bijan Robinson also finally had a game that lived up to his draft pick with 106 yards and a touchdown. Rashad White also continued to shine as he finished with 98 yards and a score. Devontae Adams and Dalton Schultz combined for 157 yards, and Evan McPherson added a 50-plus yard field goal to get into the double digits. Jamar Chase was the best player for the Clash at Demonhead with 124 yards and a 50-plus yard touchdown. The Jets' defense also continued to do well with 3 sacks, an interception, and a fumble recovery. As for the highlighted quarterbacks, Josh Allen struggled for the visiting team with just 177 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He also turned the ball over 3 times to really hurt his score. Joe Burrow didn't have a beast game, but he certainly did his job with 347 passing yards, 20 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. He did also have 2 interceptions, or he could have had an even better score as well. The biggest thing for the Stellar Bitches is that they are now 6-4 overall and 5th overall in the league, also tied for first with Remember the Titans, and for 4th place with defending champion Elite Mother Tuckers. The Stellar Bitches do not own the tiebreakers over these squads, however. The Clash at Demonhead falls to 5-5 and is now only in 6th over Risky Business by tiebreaker alone, and just a game ahead of 3 other teams in what will be a very challenging, hard-fought playoff race.
Greetings, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. I'm super excited. I was super excited this morning when I woke up to the news that I had won. So I knew this on Sunday, but the bitches have not been doing, they've been up and down this season, which I'm pleasantly, surprised to say that it's better than previous years. But, my bitches, the Stellar Bitches, have been up and down, and on week 10, they did not disappoint. So 120 points. I can't be more thrilled with that because it has been up and down. And I didn't know how this week was going to turn out, especially after adding a new defense because it was out. I have no idea why I decided to add the Bengals when I have their kicker and their quarterback. Maybe I just hope it would one make up for the other one. In the end, it only got me 2 points, but hey, it was not negative, so I guess it was a good choice. In terms of quarterbacks, I was pleasantly surprised with Burrows. He has been up and down first couple of games, not getting me much points. Thought about taking him out, but Mary filled in. It seemed to be about regular, the same amount for each week. So 25 points, I will take it. But I think overall, who really made me happy this week were my running backs coming in with each about 16 points on average. White and Robinson, both of those average 16 points. So that really, really caught me up. And then also my wide receiver, Keenan Allen, really, really picked up the pace and brought in almost 30 points, 29 and a half. I'll look that up. But overall, a really good week for me. I hope this keeps it up. And again, I'm just hoping to right now stay in the top 6, but let's aim high. Hoping for another great turnout next week, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my bitches right now going into week 11. So let's hope I stay alive. Thanks.
Of course, there were some other big games across the league in week 10. Let's get to them and everything else in the best of the rest. Lebowski Thor hosted Risky Business at the pastures of Fardora with Jalen Hurts on a bye and a weakened team due to injuries and a lack of waiver pickups throughout the year. Risky Business obviously crushed Lebowski Thor 135.06 to 63.1. Jamar Gibbs led Risky Business with 112 yards and 2 touchdowns, and kicker Jason Myers went off for 4 40-plus yard field goals and some other kicks to reach 21 points. Kyler Murray added a score in a decent return game at quarterback, and Tyler Lockett scored twice and added 92 yards. TJ Hawkinson had a big game at tight end with 134 yards and a score, and the Cowboys defense added 5 sacks and a pick over the lowly Giants. Joe Mixon also reached the end zone. Lebowski Thor did finally hit on a waiver pick with 161 yards and a touchdown by Devin Singletary. He also had 117 yards by Tyler Boyd. Not much else to speak of, though. Risky Business moves to 5-5 and is in the heart of the playoff race. Lebowski Thor falls to 3-7 and most likely needs to win out now to have any chance, though he still might not be eliminated officially until week 13. In one of the big league upsets, the Siamese Dreamcats hosted Remember the Titans at the Gardens of Leodin and pulled off the 100.4 to 90.52 win. Brock Purdy was the guy she needed. He had 296 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a 50-plus yard score. CeeDee Lamb continued his breakout with 165 yards and 2 scores, and the Colts defense were a nice pickup with 5 sacks and 2 interceptions. David Montgomery had 116 yards and a touchdown to lead Remember the Titans. Jalen Warren finished with 110 yards and a score. Debo Samuel and Lamar Jackson also found the end zone. But it wasn't enough here, as the Peaks of Alt division is now clearly up for grabs. Remember, the Titans falls to 6-4 and is only ahead of the Stellar Bitches by a tiebreaker. The Siamese Dreamcats keep their slim playoff hopes alive and move to 3-7. In the next huge league upset, Air Jordan traveled to take on Green Acres at the Bogs of Diomirach and had another nice post-trade game, winning 114.56 to 98.96. Green Acres received a taste of his own medicine as Air Jordan somehow stole his quarterback Whisperer award and used it for himself. Dak Prescott was insane. 404 passing yards, 17 rushing yards, and 5 touchdowns, though he did have a pick. Najee Harris added 96 yards in a score, and Tank Dell also reached the end zone. Alvin Kamara had 75 yards and 2 two-point conversions, and Daniel Carlson finished with a couple of 40-plus yard field goals and a 50-plus yard field goal. Geno Smith did do well for Green Acres with 369 passing yards and a couple of scores. Jonathan Taylor and Gus Edwards also reached the end zone, and Ramondre Stevenson collected 102 yards. The Raiders' defense and Dustin Hopkins combined for 22 points at defense and kicker. Green Acres now falls out of the top spot in the league and is 7-3 overall. Air Jordan moves to 4-6 and is just a game back of the final playoff spot. My Gashkia Slews traveled to face the multiple scoregasms at the abandoned villages of Bonanock, and it was my Slews winning a big tiebreaker game, 124.22 to 95.2. Jared Goff finished with 333 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, and Brian Robinson finished with 157 yards and a 50-plus yard score. Austin Eckler had 115 yards and a touchdown, and Javonte Williams finished with 110 yards and a touchdown. Dalton Kincaid and the Browns defense also scored touchdowns. The 49ers defense led the scoregasms with 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, and just 3 points allowed, a big-time game by the 49ers, although they did hurt Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback of the scoregasms. Amon-Ra St. Brown added 165 yards and a touchdown, and kicker Greg Zuerlein finished with 4 field goals, including a 50-plus yarder. James Cook had 120 yards, but did lose a fumble, and Jake Ferguson scored a touchdown as well. Both squads are now 4-6 and are a game back in the final playoff spot, but my Slews jump over the scoregasms with the tiebreaker. Lastly, in a potential playoff preview, the defending champion Elite Mother Tuckers hosted Bandidos del Rio at Cascate Isle. This one came down to a lost fumble by Josh Jacobs after the Elite Mother Tuckers just took a lead in the fourth quarter of the Sunday night game, helping Bandidos del Rio win 105.52 to 104.72. Get those burritos ready. Joshua Dobbs was a nice buy replacement for Patrick Mahomes as he finished with 268 passing yards, 44 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker added 127 yards and a 50-plus yard score. Chris Olave came alive and collected 94 yards and a touchdown, and Mike Evans was a beast with 143 yards and a score, easily outplaying Chris Godwin on the other side. Justin Herbert had a great day at quarterback with 323 passing yards, 15 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs had 127 yards, but he did lose that fumble. Trey McBride finished with 131 yards, giving the Elite Mother Tuckers a potential tight end for the rest of the season. And the Ravens defense had a pick 6, a fumble recovery, and 4 sacks for another great game. Even though they lost against Cleveland, by the way. Bandidos del Rio is now 7-3 and is the first overall team in the league. The Elite Mother Tuckers fall to 6-4 and are right back down with the pack in the wild card race, also remaining a game behind Green Acres in the wetlands of our own division. What a wild penultimate out-of-division week before we return to our divisions in the final push for the playoffs. Guess what, everyone? With 4 weeks left, we've reached our league's witching hour, when teams on the outside make a run and teams on the inside crumble away. We'll be back tomorrow with some more big-time matchup previews, including our next game of the week, which should have a playoff atmosphere around it. Before you go, check out the updated standings. And until next time, salut.